Hello, this is Jesse Alalade in the financial services from Coventry. I'll be talking briefly in a 20-minute video about the following points. So I'll be it will be based on the following learning outcomes. Examine the key financial and non-financial risks for organizations that lend in the corporate debt market. Identify methods of monitoring, controlling, and recovering corporate debt. Illustrate the process and technology used in financial risk management, and describe the key issues involved in lending to corporate organizations in terms of credit worthiness. So, just to start, the stock market affects businesses in two ways. One by influencing consumer spending and providing a chance for stronger returns on capital costs. Defined as the market in which equity shares of businesses are bought and sold, the stock market measures the aggregate value of publicly traded companies. It can be a value tool for gauging the health of the overall economy, even though it occasionally misleads economists. The stock market, however, has predicted 15 of the last three recessions. Consumers spend more during bull markets because they feel wealthier when they see their portfolios rise in value. Actually, during the bear markets, they pull back on spending because they fear the loss of wealth and purchasing power as the value of their investment contracts decline. So I'll be really going through the advantages and disadvantages of raising capital on the stock market for Mary Ltd. Um, One advantage of actually raising finance by issuing capital is the bonds can be very flexible of raising debt capital. So they can be secured or unsecured, and you can decide what priority they take over other debts. They can offer a way of stabilizing your company's finances by having substantial debts on a fixed rate interest. So this offers more protection basically against variable interest rates or economic changes in the future, because you never know what can happen. The economy is so volatile and anything can change at one moment. Another advantage of using capital on the stock market is that you're not diluting the value of existing shareholdings. And also, another advantage is that you can enable more cash to be retained in the business because the redemption date for bonds can be several years after their issue date. Another advantage is that there's no new debt. So a major advantage of selling partial ownership is that you don't have to take on new debt, and loan financing comes with repayment requirements and an interest rate that leads to charges until the loan is repaid. In some cases, you can pay the loan on for years, which means that you not only repay what you borrowed, but hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees on top of that. Companies that take on too much debt could eventually face business failure, but that's very, very rare um, for a company to face business failure if they take out a loan. Of course, when you take out a loan, if you keep up with the payments, then shouldn't actually be anything wrong. Another advantage of selling stocks to raise funds is that if your business fails, you do not have to pay back the money to the investors. The new investors take on the same risk of loss that you do when you invest in your own business. And if you want to minimize your own potential for loss on a new investment, equity financing is a good way to go. um, rather than debt financing. Uh, another, I'll go to the disadvantages now. So one disadvantage of issuing capital on the stock market is regular interest payments to bondholders. Even though the interest rate may be fixed, the interest will usually have to be paid even if you make a loss in the stock market, which is not good, meaning that you'll be losing money. The company, Mary Ltd. The potential for your business share value to be reduced if your profits decline. This is because bond interest payments take precedence over dividends. Another disadvantage is that there's ongoing contact with investors can be limited, so changes to terms and conditions or waivers can be difficult to obtain compared with dealing with bank lenders. On the other hand, if you're dealing with bank lenders, they'll be more flexible and maintain a closer relationship with you. Another disadvantage is to having to comply with various listing rules in order to increase the tradability of the bonds listed on this exchange. For example, an obligation to make information of the company on the company publicly available at the issue stage and regularly during the life of the bond. There will also be a reduced market for the bonds or shares in your business, which may have a long-term effect on the value of Mary Ltd as a whole. There's also a limited number of potential investors who may not want to invest substantial amounts individually. So that could be a very big negative because it declines investment. There's also a loss of ownership because if you're selling shares to raise stock and to selling shares to raise funds, you give up a level of ownership. Investors buy into your company hoping to profit if the company succeeds, and they generate profits down the line. Some small business owners seek equity financing without contemplating the realities of a new ownership structure. If you give up too much of your company earlier on to get investments, it can become frustrating when profit from your idea and hard work is diminished. Some capitalists ask for participate in preferred stock. Preferred stock takes precedence over common stocks, shares owned by founders, which means preferred shares are paid first on the sale of the company,